I, 29M, never thought I'd be writing something like this, but the last few weeks have been absolute chaos and I really need to get this off my chest. For context, I got engaged to Bridget, 27F, last year after dating for 2 years. She's literally the best thing that ever happened to me and I couldn't be happier. We met through mutual friends at a work event. I own a construction business that I inherited from my dad, and she works as an architect. We hit it off immediately and started dating soon after. Some background about my ex Natasha, 28F, since it's important to the story. We dated for about 3 years during college and it was honestly the most toxic relationship I've ever been in. We met in freshman year when we were both young and stupid. At first, everything seemed perfect. She was fun, outgoing, and seemed to really care about me. But things started changing after about 6 months. She became extremely controlling and manipulative. She would constantly accuse me of cheating whenever I hung out with friends or even talked to female classmates. She would check my phone when I wasn't looking and demand to know who every female contact was. If I didn't respond to her texts within minutes, she would blow up my phone with calls and messages accusing me of being with other girls. It got so bad that I started isolating myself from everyone just to avoid fights with her. I lost touch with many of my friends during this time. She would guilt trip me by saying things like I was the only good thing in her life and she couldn't live without me. Looking back, I can see how toxic it was, but at the time I was too caught up in it to realize. The breaking point came when I caught her cheating with some guy from her workplace. Instead of apologizing, she somehow turned it around and made it seem like it was my fault for not giving her enough attention. She said she only cheated because I was too busy with my classes and helping my dad with his business. I finally gathered the courage to end things after that. But that wasn't the end of it. After we broke up, she kept trying to contact me for months. She would show up at my apartment unannounced at all hours, sometimes drunk and crying, sometimes angry and screaming. When I blocked her number, she started calling from different phones. She would wait outside my classes and try to talk to me. She even tried to get back with me by saying she would hurt herself if I didn't take her back. It only stopped when I threatened to get a restraining order. That was 5 years ago and I hadn't heard from her since then. Now about my brother Matt, 32M. We used to be really close growing up, but things changed after our dad passed away when I was 24. Dad had built this successful construction business from scratch and I had been helping him run it since I was in college. I would work there during summers and after classes, learning everything I could. Matt, on the other hand, never showed any interest in the business. He went to law school and was focused on his own career. When Dad got sick, he decided to leave the business to me since I was already involved in running it. Matt got a significant portion of other assets, including some real estate properties and investment accounts, but he was furious about not getting the business. He felt that as the older son, he should have gotten it automatically. He didn't care that I had been the one working there for years while he had never shown any interest. Our relationship has been strained ever since. We still maintained basic civility for our mom's sake, showing up at family events and being polite, but the closeness we had growing up was gone. He would make snide comments about how I only got the business because I was Dad's favorite, completely ignoring all the years I had put into learning and helping run it. Coming to the wedding day, Bridget and I decided to have a traditional church wedding this spring. Everything was going perfectly until we reached the speak now or forever hold your peace part. That's when Natasha burst into the church, looking completely disheveled like she had been crying. She was wearing this weird oversized dress that made her look pregnant. She started screaming that she was 4 months pregnant with my child and that I had been secretly meeting her behind Bridget's back. She even had printed screenshots of alleged conversations between us showing plans to meet up and discussing the pregnancy. I was completely shocked. I literally hadn't even seen her in 5 years, let alone gotten her pregnant. Bridget was stunned, but she held it together remarkably well. My mom was crying, asking me if it was true. Bridget's parents looked horrified. They're very traditional people and this kind of scandal is their worst nightmare. The whole church was in chaos with people whispering and taking videos on their phones. Matt was sitting there with this weird smirk on his face, which I didn't think much about at the time but now seemed significant. Security eventually removed Natasha, but the damage was done. We somehow managed to complete the ceremony since Bridget trusted me and knew I would never do something like this. But her parents were a different story. They kept giving me these disgusted looks throughout the reception and left early with barely a word to anyone. Several other guests left early too and I could hear them gossiping about the situation. I tried calling and texting Natasha after the wedding to confront her about why she would do something like this, but she's not responding. I even went to her workplace, but apparently she quit her job last month. Her old coworkers said she just stopped showing up one day. It's like she's completely disappeared. The whole thing has cast this huge shadow over what should have been the happiest day of our lives. Videos of the incident are circulating among family members and on social media. People who weren't even at the wedding are messaging me asking if it's true. Bridget says she believes me, but I can see how much this is affecting her, especially with how her parents are reacting. I honestly don't know what to do now. Update 1. It's been about 2 weeks since the wedding incident and things have gotten significantly worse. I thought the situation couldn't get any more complicated, but I was wrong. Yesterday, Bridget came home from meeting her parents and she was completely devastated, crying harder than I've ever seen her cry before. Her parents had asked her to come over for lunch, saying they needed to discuss something important. When she got there, they ambushed her with what they called concrete evidence of my affair with Natasha. They had somehow gotten hold of more screenshots of alleged conversations between Natasha and me spanning the last 6 months. The messages showed detailed discussions about meeting up at hotels, talking about the pregnancy, and even making plans for after the baby was born. They also had photos of us together that were supposedly taken recently. The photos showed what looked like Natasha and me at various locations, outside a restaurant, in a park, and even one where it looked like we were kissing. Bridget says the photos look real, but I know for a fact they're photoshopped because I was never at any of those places with Natasha. The worst part came when her parents gave her an ultimatum. They told her that either she leaves me now, or they'll completely cut her off from the family. They said they couldn't bear to see their only daughter with someone who would cheat on her and abandon his own child. They brought up how Bridget's sister Sarah's marriage had ended 2 years ago because her husband had been cheating on her with multiple women. Sarah went through a horrible depression after that and had to move back home for almost a year to recover. Her parents said they saw the same signs in our situation and they weren't going to stand by and watch another daughter go through that kind of pain. They even went as far as to say that if Bridget stays with me, they won't consider her their daughter anymore. They won't attend any family events if she's there, won't speak to her, and won't have anything to do with any future children we might have. This is especially hard for Bridget because she's always been extremely close to her parents. She's their youngest daughter and has always been the good girl who did everything right. She lived at home through college to save money, always consulted them on major decisions, and even chose her career in architecture partly because her dad is in real estate development and they often work together on projects. Bridget keeps telling me she believes me and knows I would never do this to her, but I can see how much this situation is destroying her. She's barely sleeping. I hear her crying in the bathroom at night when she thinks I'm asleep. She's hardly eating anything and has lost weight in just these 2 weeks. Her work is suffering too. She's made mistakes on projects that she would never normally make. I've tried reaching out to her parents multiple times to explain my side, but they won't even talk to me. They've blocked my number and told all other family members not to pass any messages from me. When I tried to stop by their house, they threatened to call the police for harassment. They're completely convinced that I'm this horrible person who got his ex pregnant and abandoned her, and nothing I say or do seems to change their minds. What makes this whole situation even more frustrating is that Natasha is still nowhere to be found. None of her old friends know where she is, and her social media accounts have all been deactivated. Her old phone number is disconnected. The address her workplace had for her turned out to be an old one. The current residents said they've never heard of her. It's like she showed up just to ruin our wedding and then vanished into thin air. Something about this whole situation feels off, but I can't put my finger on what it is. The timing of everything is too perfect. Natasha quitting her job right before the wedding, having all these fake screenshots and photos ready, knowing exactly when to burst into the church for maximum impact. It feels almost planned. I saw Matt at our mom's house yesterday and tried talking to him about it since he works as a private investigator. I thought maybe he could help track down Natasha or at least figure out where all this fake evidence is coming from. But he was weirdly dismissive about the whole thing, saying I probably deserved what was happening to me for being such a golden boy all these years. When I pressed him about why he would say something like that when my marriage is falling apart, he got angry and stormed out. Mom mentioned later that he's been acting strange lately, spending a lot of money, being very secretive about his phone calls, and missing family dinners which he never used to do before. I'm trying to stay strong for Bridget, but this whole situation is taking a toll on me too. The business is suffering because I can't focus properly. I keep checking my phone constantly hoping Natasha will contact me so I can confront her about all this. Every time I see a notification, I hope it's her parents saying they believe me, but it never is. I just don't know how much longer we can go on like this. Update 2. Well, the truth finally came out and it's even worse than I imagined. Last week, I received an anonymous email with a video attachment. The subject line just said you should see this, and normally I would ignore such emails, but something made me open it. It was security camera footage from a coffee shop downtown, timestamped about a month before my wedding. The video clearly showed Matt meeting with Natasha. In the footage, they were sitting in a corner booth having what looked like a serious conversation. Matt seemed to be explaining something while Natasha nodded along. At one point, he pulled out an envelope and handed it to her. She looked inside, smiled, and then they shook hands. The whole thing looked like some kind of business deal. This got me really suspicious, so I hired a private investigator, not from Matt's firm obviously. I gave him all the information I had, including the coffee shop video. Within a few days, he uncovered something shocking. He found bank records showing that Matt had transferred $50,000 to Natasha in 3 separate payments over the month before the wedding. The first payment was made right after that coffee shop meeting. The investigator also discovered that Matt had hired a professional photo editor to create those fake screenshots and photoshopped pictures that Natasha had shown to Bridget's parents. The guy who did the editing came forward when the investigator contacted him, apparently feeling guilty about his part in it. He provided all the original photos that were used for the Photoshop job. They were mostly taken from my social media and combined with recent photos of Natasha. With all this evidence in hand, the investigator was able to track down Natasha. She's been staying at her cousin's beach house a few hours away. When confronted with the evidence, she finally broke down and confessed everything. Matt had tracked her down through his Pi connections and approached her with this plan. He knew about our history and played on her lingering feelings for me. According to Natasha, Matt convinced her that I had gotten everything handed to me my whole life while others struggled. He told her how I had stolen his inheritance and was now living this perfect life with a beautiful wife while she was still alone. He said it wasn't fair and suggested a way to get revenge. The money was just an added incentive. She admitted she's not pregnant, she just wore a padded dress to look the part. She also confessed that she hadn't had any contact with me since our breakup years ago. The whole pregnancy story, the fake messages, the photoshopped pictures, it was all orchestrated by Matt. He even rehearsed with her what to say at the wedding and how to make the biggest scene possible. I took all this evidence, the video, bank records, the photo editor's confession, and Natasha's statement, to Bridget's parents. They were completely shocked. Her dad is actually friends with the owner of the coffee shop from the security footage, which helped confirm everything. They immediately apologized to both of us, feeling terrible about how quickly they had believed Natasha and given Bridget that ultimatum. Then came the confrontation with Matt. When I showed him all the evidence, he didn't even try to deny it. He just laughed and said he wanted to ruin my life like I had ruined his by taking his business. He actually thought if my marriage fell apart, I would be too devastated to run the business properly and would have to sell it to him. He said he had been planning this for months, just waiting for the perfect moment. Mom was there during this confrontation and she was absolutely heartbroken. She kept asking Matt how he could do this to his own brother, but he just said I was never really his brother, just the favorite son who got everything while he got nothing. He completely ignored the fact that Dad left him several valuable properties and investment accounts. In his mind, the business was all that mattered. The whole thing is just mind-boggling. My own brother paid my ex-girlfriend to pretend she was pregnant with my child, just to ruin my wedding and hopefully destroy my business in the process. It's the kind of thing you expect to see in movies, not real life. But I have all the evidence in black and white, the bank transfers, the video, the confessions, everything. Update 3. 3 months have passed since everything came to light, and life has changed dramatically. We've completely cut Matt out of our lives. It wasn't even a hard decision after what he did. Mom tried to convince me several times to forgive him, saying he was still my brother and family should stick together. She even suggested family therapy, but I told her that what he did was unforgivable. I laid it out clearly for her. Matt didn't just try to ruin my wedding day, he actively plotted for months to destroy my marriage and my business. He tracked down my abusive ex, paid her a significant amount of money, hired someone to create fake evidence, and orchestrated this whole drama just because he was jealous about a business he never even wanted when Dad was alive. When I put it that way, Mom finally understood. Now she's barely speaking to him either. We filed a police report against both Matt and Natasha for harassment and defamation. The police said criminal charges might be tricky since Matt technically didn't threaten us directly, but we're pursuing civil charges. Our lawyer says we have a strong case for emotional distress and damages, especially since we have clear evidence of the money trail and both Natasha and the photo editor are willing to testify. Matt tried to reach out last week through one of our cousins. Apparently, his Pi firm is struggling because word got out about what he did and clients don't want to work with someone who would use their investigative skills to hurt their own family. He wanted to apologize and asked if we could drop the lawsuit, claiming he had learned his lesson. I told the cousin to tell him that he's lucky I'm only suing him and not reporting him to the Pi licensing board for misuse of his professional resources. Natasha also tried to apologize through social media, creating new accounts when we blocked her old ones. She keeps saying she realizes what she did was wrong and she was manipulated by Matt, but I don't buy it. She was a willing participant who took money to try to destroy my marriage. She knew exactly what she was doing. Bridget and I are slowly healing from all this. Her relationship with her parents is still strained. She says she can't forget how they were so quick to believe the worst about me without any real proof. They chose to believe a stranger's word over their own daughter's judgment. They're trying to make it up to us by being extra supportive now, but as Bridget says, you can't unring a bell. They broke her trust in a fundamental way. The silver lining in all this is that Bridget and I are stronger than ever. She stood by me even when her own parents were against us, and that means everything to me. She trusted her gut about me being innocent even when all that fake evidence was stacked against me. Not many people would have that kind of faith in their partner. We've gotten some really nice support from my employees too. When they heard the whole story, they were outraged on my behalf. Many of them had worked with Dad and me for years and knew how hard I had worked to learn the business. They've been extra dedicated these past months, helping keep everything running smoothly while I dealt with all this drama. We're focusing on our life together now and trying to put this whole nightmare behind us. We're planning to move to a new house in a different neighborhood, somewhere with better security this time. It's sad that we have to think about things like that, but after everything that happened, we're not taking any chances. Some wounds take time to heal, but at least now we know who we can really trust.